And now we will ask our two speakers, Ami Pothier, French, from French... Acadie. Okay, donc Ami Pothier. Ami is an accessibility and building code specialist, as well as an intern interior designer. Her role focuses on creating user-friendly spaces, combining expertise in accessibility and building codes with architectural and interior design. Jesse Klimitz, do I pronounce it well? Yeah, okay. Jesse Klimitz. Jesse is an accessibility specialist and intern architect. Jesse imparts his passion and expertise in balancing architecture with evolving accessibility standard and universal design practices. So they will present a duo. So I will give you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Everybody? I will apologize that my speech is going to be in English.
No, it's fine.
I am Acadian. However, my French is not appropriate for Montreal. So I will leave it in English. I will leave it in English today, and I have to say it's the first time that I've been on a panel discussion where I've really been sad to start speaking, because the conversation and the content through the discussion after Janny's presentation was so wonderful, and I really appreciate all the comments that have been made in the discussion. So we'll present our topic, and then if we want to continue the discussion, please, I'd love it. So, as Michelle mentioned, my name is Amy. I am an interior designer and accessibility specialist, and I focus on building code consulting as well. So I'm looking primarily at Canadian codes and standards, although I have worked in a number of different countries across the world, but focusing on Canadian standards and where they're at, whether it's for the good and for the bad. And I'm joined here with my colleague Jesse.
Hi everyone, I'm Jesse Klimitz, and I am an accessibility specialist alongside Amy and an architect, soon-to-be licensed architect. A few more weeks and I'm done the long 10-year process. And I have a passion for universal design and working to raise awareness in the community.
And those pictures are from your Facebook pages? They are quite nice.
We have a graphic designer in our office who fixes us up, let's say.
There's not that much Photoshop. I will. Okay.
Yes, thank you. I will let her know. Thank you, Michelle. So we are actually working out of Quadrangle Architects Limited, and we are part of a joint venture with March of Dimes Canada called Accessibility Advantage. And through that joint venture, we provide a plethora of accessibility consultation and services. Jesse and I focus solely on the built environment side of things. So we do a lot of auditing, as Janny had mentioned. We want to talk to you later. We do a lot of auditing of spaces, and we help our clients come up with creative solutions that will remediate barriers in existing buildings and try to avoid, as best as possible, to the construction of new spaces that are not inclusive or universally designed. So we really do focus on trying to build spaces that everybody can use regardless of age or ability, and to try to make everything a little bit more user-friendly and accommodating.
So as we now begin to learn, sport tourism can play a major role as a catalyst for change in communities. So we've had the opportunity to work on the Para-Pan Am Games that are coming to Southern Ontario next summer, July 2015. And these games are going to hopefully create a lasting legacy for Ontario with the development of new construction and reconstruction of athletic venues, stadiums, and recreational facilities that will hopefully embody a spirit of inclusion. So we have, as mentioned, we've had the opportunity to work as the accessibility consultants on the compliance side. So our client is the Government of Ontario, and representing the government on several of these new developments. So today we're going to discuss our approach first towards integrated project delivery and the results of two in-depth research studies that Amy and I have undertaken as a result of this compliance work. So to start off, we take universal design as an approach to all of our projects. So a one-size-fits-all approach no longer works. We need to start considering the needs of all people, regardless of age or ability, whether it's someone who may have low or no vision, someone that's a parent pushing a stroller, a young child, someone who may have a service animal, someone who may use a walker, someone who's very fit and part of the para-sports. So in the case of Pan Am Parapan Games, we had to meet the needs of high-performance parasport athletes and the legacy users. So some of our approaches, we always look to good practices that are occurring globally around the world and always trying to stay up to date. We have someone on our team who constantly is doing research to help our team grow as a hub and a think tank. So with the Pan Am Parapan Games, we helped to define the project specifications. We attended conferences internationally. We reviewed existing properties. We interviewed different design teams from, for example, Australia and the UK to understand some of the challenges that they had on their projects, and lessons learned from their work and our own previous work. We always look at research and use this research with hard, reliable data to back up our findings. Some of our work for the Pan Am Parapan Am Games included looking at the needs of accommodating persons who use service animals. We worked with the Lions Foundation of Canada, Guide Dogs Association to really come to conclusions about how can we start accommodating the needs of people with differing abilities, and especially in this case with assistive animals, and how can we welcome them into these venues. We researched the anthropometry of wheeled mobility devices. That was a study out of the IDEA Center in Buffalo, the Inclusive Design Environmental Access Center, and you'll see some of that research in our collection of knowledge and research that we'll present today. And as well, looking to the Union of European Football Associations to look at accessible stadiums and looking at providing the needs to spectators as well as athletes. It's integral to the success of any project to obtain user input and include the perspectives of people with disabilities. The value of these alternate perspectives can greatly benefit any project. On the Pan Am Parapan Am Games, we ensured the integration of the universities where many of the new venues are being built, the students that will be using these in the legacy use, the government, coaches and athletes, and the design teams that we had to work with to ensure that our specifications that we set out were being met on these projects. And as well, the community at large, ensuring that that their input was also included at times.
A lot of what we feel our job is to do is to enlighten our fellow designers and architects, to help them understand the benefits of designing universally and what that means, and also to direct them to appropriate resources based on their level of expertise and what they are doing. So we focus very hard on embedding information and sharing knowledge with our peers, and getting in from the start of projects is always the most important. I think the gentleman that spoke from France, you had really talked about how it's a missed opportunity when you're auditing after the building has been constructed, and we totally agree. So we look to provide information and address standards so that we can get the information correct at the beginning of the design process and establish a set of parameters that will help the buildings be as inclusive as possible. And in the case of the Pan Am Para-Pan Am Games, we were fortunate enough to be brought on early in the process. So we, as Jesse mentioned, we were working with the legacy and the community, the people that were going to own and operate and use those facilities afterwards, in addition to working with the International Paralympic Committee to establish the requirements for para-athletes, pan-athletes, everybody, so that everybody could use the facility and not recognize it as having separate components for different people. It would be all integrated into one. So one of my projects is the Pan Am Para-Pan Athletes Village, and this is a huge legacy component, downtown Toronto, one of the first of its kind where we're actually constructing 6 buildings at once. And the most important thing is to constantly be on site. So it doesn't end at the design stage. And I'm not sure if any of you were able to attend the Chalet U information that was yesterday, but I really related to Martin Richard's presentation where he was saying how important it was to be on site daily, and that Jean-Pierre had been going and reminding contractors that we need to step out of the "this is what we've always done" attitude and push towards "this is what we should be doing." So we're not the design architects on this project. We are consulting on behalf of the province of Ontario. So what we do is we constantly try to shift the attitude and educate and enlighten and inspire people to make the right decision. So I'm getting calls from the contractor now saying, guess what? We found the best power door operator. And they're very excited. And so, that's taken almost 5 years to change that perspective and to get them excited about this to the point where they're calling me and saying, look, we put color contrast around the elevators to provide appropriate wayfinding. And they're proud of it. And that really means a lot to us because it means that what we're doing is working. But it takes a lot of time. Another thing that we do is we work in an office of 120 and growing architects and designers. And so we try to use our own studio space as a living lab. So we're constantly looking at different ideas and opportunities. And technology is advancing far faster than we can ever keep up with, and the building code itself is always behind, right? Because you can never set a building code that's going to respond to things that are going to happen in the next 6 months, let alone 2-3 years. So what we try to do is implement these new universal design strategies into our own studio space, test them out, have discussions with different designers and architects in the office and say, how do you feel about implementing this into other projects that you're working on? And we actually try to inspire them to think about it outside of the office as well, because everybody's kind of in a community. The architectural design community is very close-knit, and so sharing the information with 130 people in our office on a daily basis also gets to their friends, their colleagues, their peers outside of the office, and we're hoping to inspire change within this whole group of people. Another component that we do is we share knowledge and we go to terrific conferences like this and meet people like you to try to absorb all the information and the abilities that you have to design inclusively, think inclusively, and then we try to share that with the rest of the community. So we're really focused on trying to talk to everybody possible. If you want to talk to us, we don't stop talking, so we'll be happy to talk to anybody after this. And to share our knowledge and expertise by publishing papers, and we actually were lucky enough to be featured as through a IAUD for the design of our own studio. So we've been able to share knowledge and spread the word, and we're hoping to keep going and build momentum. And one of the things that we've learned is that writing papers that we can share with our peers and colleagues has really helped us to take all the information that we're learning and take all these research components that other people are putting together and put it into a document that designers can use. So we've authored 2 papers that we're going to focus on today. One is for inclusive athletic change in locker rooms, and the other one is for accessible sports stadia. But these are growing papers. They might be published now, but life changes, things change, and technologies change. So if anybody has any suggestions on how we can add or improve to these papers as we're presenting today, we'd love to talk to you more about it. So one key factor in developing a universally designed sporting venue really comes down to the welcoming, accommodating, and inclusive change rooms. And they should be designed to accommodate the diverse needs of everybody. So regardless of one's age, physical, cognitive, sensory abilities, every person should have equal opportunity to engage in sport. Including options for fully inclusive change rooms and locker rooms in the design of sporting venues will allow everyone, including our high-performance athletes, the ability to equally prepare and participate in competitive and recreational activities. I like to show this picture because this is a change room of the past. Change rooms were used previously for only one thing. You changed as fast as you could to get out of this gray, dull, lifeless space and participate in whatever sport it was that you were enjoying. You can see even by this image that there was no consideration to people's different needs. All the hooks are much too high for most people to even be able to hang your coat on, let alone would you feel comfortable to leave your garments in this room. It looks kind of not welcoming. Change rooms of the present are very adaptable, and they are an essential element to a vibrant and welcoming athletic venue. So designers really need to incorporate flexibility and accommodation into the schematic planning, so right from the beginning into that change room. And by doing so, it will ensure that the design will meet the needs of all participants in competitive and recreational sport, so that the venue can host anything. So the use of universal design principles really does enhance the design of change room facilities to ensure that everyone can participate. And this one I thought was a particularly interesting image to share. It depicts a pool with change rooms that are actually directly on the pool deck. So the intent is that if you have a lot of children and you're kind of concerned about them being, in a room separated from everybody, that something might happen or it might not be as safe. So allowing everybody the flexibility to have showers directly on the pool deck enables some accommodation of it's not as private, but it does allow for eyes on the deck, the lifeguards to also be watching children as they play. So there are 2 elements that the design team will need to understand prior to designing universal athletic change rooms. First and foremost, they need to understand what sports will be played, and secondly, they have to understand how the venue will be utilized. In the case of the Pan Am Para-Pan Am Games, we're constructing 4 new venues that are planned to accommodate for para-athletes as well as accommodate for community and recreational use afterwards. So understanding which sports will be played is very important, and I've depicted on the slide there's 3 different types of sport mobility devices. The hand cycle, the sport wheelchair that's intended to be utilized for wheelchair basketball, and as well the track chair. And they all have variations of requirements on size and space, and most of them are custom designed, especially for high-performance athletes. So understanding what the lengths and the clear widths are really going to drive the design of how you design doors in series, for example, for the track chair, as well as the width of the door for a wheelchair basketball wheelchair. So there's 3 types of change rooms that I was going to highlight today. One of them is the team change room, and this is intended to be traditionally including space for a team of single gender to have lockers, showers, washrooms, and change space. Team change rooms can also be used as gender-specific change rooms for the community when they're not intended to be used for competition. They should have direct access into showers and locker facilities, while also having washrooms close by but somewhat separate so that there's no sanitation concerns. One of the biggest things that we work with architects and designers on is the appropriate location of doors to ensure that there is privacy between the change room, but also that it's fully accessible. So designing a change room where you have an internal corridor that separates the public space from the private space, but also is fully accessible, is integral in this design. And while team change rooms are intended to be open change facilities for everyone to change in the same room, we recognize that there is a need for private change and shower space within the team change room. So therefore, it's important to design a component of the team change room that can be closed for personal privacy, but allows for the person to still be involved with the team. Support facilities in the private component can include a hoist and grab bars to assist with transferring. And on the slide, you'll see that I've included a portion of the team change room that could be closed off with the use of a 180-degree opening door as well as a folding wall, so that this allows for the team to decide based on their use and the people that are using that space whether or not they want it to be closed or open, and it should be easily operable independently. The next change room is the family change room. And this is commonly used by both genders, and from everybody coming from different places in the world. Are you seeing family change rooms in your new community sport recreational facilities? Because this is something that we're focused on in Ontario specifically, so that everybody changes in the same spot and you have private change stalls, so that regardless of whether you're a single person, you're a person that has an attendant of an opposite gender or same gender, or whether you're a parent and you have a number of children that you're trying to get ready to participate in their sports, you have flexibility and you can accommodate for everybody's needs at the same time. However, the shower facilities are fully open. So you would be showering probably in this scenario with your bathing suit on, so that everybody can use the same space, but there is some reduced privacy component that may not suit everybody's needs. In this instance, we've shown universal change stalls where every change stall can accommodate the greatest majority of mobility devices, which will also allow for parents that have strollers if they're trying to get their children ready and out, and provides flexibility. But also, if you're going to design family change style, you should definitely include a universal change room. So the difference between the universal change room and the family change rooms is that the universal change room has a private space that is fully accommodating for everybody. It has a universal shower that's in there, so if you have any reason to require additional privacy, this would be the space you would use. It also includes an adult change table that would be hydraulic, and incorporates the provision of lockers outside of the universal change room so that everybody can use that space and access their own belongings before using the universal change room. There's a lot of components about appropriate wayfinding and appropriate finishes that should be considered. Making sure that the space is easy to use and is intuitive is really important in accommodating for independent use of recreational facilities. We really appreciate bold color schemes that spread energy and enthusiasm. So if we look back to that change room of the past, we don't want to see that anymore. We want to see spaces that inspire and make you want to go there and participate in community recreational sport. We also want to reduce the potential for people with low vision from running into what some architects and designers would call decorative finishes. So we want to integrate decoration, wayfinding, and finish in a way that everybody can enjoy and does not pose a hazard. And the appropriate placement of fixtures and equipment is really important. So I've shown here on the slide, this is an example of a universal or a family change room where you can see that everybody has privacy, but that the space just feels nice and is accommodating to everybody. Another component that I really wanted to highlight is the installation of a horizontal grab bar in front of any hair drying stations so that it allows for people to have something to hold on to while they're drying their hair, getting ready to go out and go in the community. I mean, where we live, it's very cold, so you can't go out with wet hair. You have to dry your hair, and you have to feel safe when you're drying your hair. So being able to hold on to a grab bar at the front of that counter will assist everybody with ensuring that they can get ready and go back into the cold weather most of the time, and then rejoin the community. So inclusive design of sporting venues will allow architects and designers to provide appropriate accommodation measures for host cities of major sporting events and to maintain future community needs. Designing inclusive change rooms is just one key factor in designing universally designed sporting venues. Through appropriate determination of design factors such as size and space, circulation, intuitive wayfinding, fixtures, and equipment, will help to achieve lasting community use. And the design of inclusive change rooms that consider the needs of para-athletes and the diversity of all people will help establish sport facilities that can be used by visitors and the surrounding communities for generations to come.
So as you may be starting to see, Amy and I are extremely passionate and love the work we're doing, and hopefully that came through with Amy's enthusiasm on the topic. The next topic is the research that I undertook a little while ago, looking at inclusive spectator seating. So an inclusive approach to sports stadium design will accommodate the needs of all spectators to the greatest extent possible. There's direct benefits that result from an increase in public engagement and sport tourism. Providing a variety of accessible seating options will allow everyone to equally enjoy and experience a sporting event regardless of one's physical or sensory abilities. Anticipating and increasing the diversity of spectators' needs and implementing universal design strategies in your venues moving forward will result in overall changes to the layout of the stadium, the quantity and distribution of accessible seating in the stadium. So this study is a collection of current research and best practices for accessible spectator seating, and it's from the mobility perspective. So similar to what Amy presented on inclusive change rooms and what they were like in the past, similarly with Stadia seating, historically they've been created through a one-size-fits-all approach. This practice can no longer be acceptable as it decreases equality by limiting many spectators from attending and enjoying a sporting event based on their own physical and sensory abilities. Now let's fast forward to the present. There's two common seating typologies that I'm going to discuss that are truly essential for spectator seating. The first is mobility seating, and this is designed for spectators who are unable to use fixed seating. Other commonly used terms include wheelchair seating and accessible seating. But mobility seating is intended for individuals that use wheelchairs, that may use sport chairs, power chairs, scooters, or any other mobility devices. Mobility seating needs to provide flexible space to meet current and future demands. The defined clear floor space must be able to accommodate varying sizes of mobility devices and offer appropriate maneuvering spaces. As some of you may be aware, there's many different types of mobility devices on the market with many varying sizes. So it's important to start considering the space that's provided in a stadium for mobility seating. In addition, it's appropriate to provide space for spectators that may have companions or friends that are attending as well the sporting event with them. And this is generally best practice that we're seeing is provided at a ratio of 1-to-1. So for every person that has a mobility clear floor space, as well there needs to be the provision for a secondary seat equally provided. And these seats can be easily movable or flexible seating to allow for groups of friends to sit together or families to congregate. So once spectators in mobility devices may have arrived to their viewing positions, additional measures need to be required to ensure continued safety. For example, guards and handrails need to be placed around mobility seating to prevent falls over edges. Additionally, signage for wayfinding should be used and clearly indicate the reserved seating spaces. And as well, providing shelter and protection from wind, rain, and snow. The second typology of accessible seating is enhanced seating. Enhanced seating offers additional space to accommodate individuals who require the use of walkers, crutches, who may have service animals, or have other special needs. Other terms commonly used are adaptable seating, easy access seating, and amenity seating. Enhanced seating should be located in easily accessible areas, such as at the end of seating rows where steps are minimized to accommodate spectators with limited physical abilities. Seating should be situated close to the access aisles where few steps may be required to negotiate, making enhanced seating flexible, simple, and intuitive. What's also important is that with enhanced seating, there needs to be options for armrests that can be removed or lifted, and as well seats that might be removed in lieu to provide for additional space, such as someone who may require storage of their crutches, for example, or may have an assistive service animal with them. So we need to start considering this in layouts of seating, and we've started to do this quite a bit in some of the Pan Am, Para-Pan Am venues that we were involved with. Seating capacities. I did a quite a in-depth review of what are the common or best practices for seating capacities in sports stadia. And what I've come to determine is that the best standards that are currently being used in the UK are the 3% of total seating for mobility spectators and 5% for enhanced. It's also important to consider equivalent sightlines that should be provided to all spectators. Offering clear views and optimum safety for spectators in mobility seating is a must. So for example, during national anthems, events, or intermissions, and especially during exiting and emergency evacuation procedures, many spectators will be standing and moving. If adequate sightlines are not provided, it can become quite uncomfortable and dangerous for spectators situated in mobility seating. So equivalent views should be ensured when spectators stand up in front or to the side of spectators in mobility or enhanced seating. There's lots of data out there in terms of the C values that are used, and the C values are appropriate sightlines, and lots of studies on that. And current research defines that an appropriate elevated position for mobility seating can be constructed by a supervisor. So what is a supervisor? Well, a supervisor will allow for someone that may be in the seated position to have equal or clear views over other spectators standing in rows in front of them and stairs to the side. Spectators in mobility seating always require to have equivalent views to the field of play, stadium screens, and emergency signals. It's also important when planning a stadium to consider a choice of levels and ticket prices that need to be available for spectators throughout the venue. Current research describes 3 distinct levels for mobility and enhanced seating at pitch side, mid-tier, and elevated, as illustrated on the slide, showing the different levels at which common stadiums are designed to. So there needs to be choice, there needs to be flexibility. Now I just wanted to showcase some examples of seating distribution. Here's an example of a typical aquatic center, and providing the mobility and enhanced seats for both away and home spectator teams, and as well as the fans that might be attending the event. It's important to consider that the location of enhanced seats are at the easy access points, and as well in close proximity to assistive device storage spaces, washrooms, concessions, and in close proximity to areas of refuge or exits. And here's another example, a typical football or soccer field stadium, ensuring that varieties of accessible views are required at each seating level with choice of locations, and as well equally distributed. In our work on the Pan Am, Para-Pan Am Games venues, there's a lot of different seat allocations, and it's important to consider there might be general spectator seating at events, there might be media seating, VIP seating. So part of our role was to ensure that that accessible seating is provided at all of these points to ensure that there's continuity between the seating area. Wayfinding and finishes. The integration of wayfinding and universal design attributes will improve stadium functionality and safety. So simple ideas can include color contrast of seating around surrounding surfaces such as walls and floors. And this will help to provide visual acuity and wayfinding for everyone in the venue to their seating options and price points. We can really learn from other building typologies as well. Here we have an example of a train station. And in this train station, they're looking at or the use of wayfinding and finishes for stair systems to provide safety. Stairs need to be integrated into the design of the venue seating. So for example, placing color and tonal contrast nosing strips on stair runs, at the leading edge of stair treads, and tactile warning surface indicators at stair landings can help to provide tolerance for error and universal safety. So in conclusion, sport tourism brings people together in extraordinary ways and can play a major role as a catalyst for change. Sports stadia must embody the spirit of inclusion by integrating accessible features to improve the overall functionality and safety of venues for the future. We're now going to show a quick video to end our presentation.
What a great video. Whew. emotion, and I've played at university. I've played basketball on a wheelchair with studying in kinanthropology, and it's a sport by its own. It's a tough sport. Yeah, one day. So, any specific question? Yeah, and present yourself briefly.
My name is Brittany Kress. I actually work at the Center for Inclusive Design and Environmental Access at the University of Buffalo. I couldn't be more proud that you used our research in what you
We love you.
I think your firm really embodies universal design in that it includes attractions to places that I want to be and be a part of, but streamlined into being inclusive for all people. So that's really amazing and awesome. And but my question is about planning for Pan Am Games and for also the Olympics. And any of you can speak on your expertise. I've done a little bit of reading, particularly with the Olympics in Australia, where there's a lot of changes that occur in that transition time between the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games. And to me, the ideal of universal design would be that that transition is minimized and that really the events could be streamlined more so. Have you seen a change in this over time, and what kinds of things are you doing to streamline that transition?
That's a great question.
Yeah, really great question. I also want to say we can't take credit for that awesome video. For anybody, it was actually put together by Toronto 2015, the organization hosting the games. So also, I just wanted to make that clear, because if we were that great to be able to film that, yeah, we would be filming more. But no, we did not do that. So maybe we'll start this, I'll start it, and then Jesse, you can add. And Janny, I think also you could probably provide some insight. I know in our experience, we're trying our hardest to ensure that anything that is integrated with regards to universal design is maintained as a legacy to the community afterwards. There's a lot of changes between community use and the sporting events. However, those components are actually going to be added to the building. That's stuff like seating. So there'll be more seating for the games than there will be in general use. And accessing the buildings is going to be drastically different due to security and ticket control and that kind of component. And Toronto 2015 is focused on providing this information to people before they get to the games. So if you have people that are coming from all over the world, which we hope you will all be there with us, we'll give you the information, or they're trying to give the information ahead of time to say, these are the entrances, and all entrances are accessible, but these are the only entrances for spectators. And then there's going to be accessible entrances for media, accessible entrances for VIP. But we're trying to maintain everything as a legacy to the Pan Am Games with regards to universal design.
Yeah, and just to add to that, in our work and what we have been trying to achieve is looking at high-performance para-athletes and ensuring that for the games that their needs are met, and all of that we are hoping will then transcend into the community legacy use. So working to meet the needs of, for example, sport chairs and the requirements that those take for space, or reach ranges and things like that, those attributes or characteristics have really helped us to define requirements for these venues to go way beyond the minimum requirements that might be in our building code or in the Disabilities Act in Ontario. So we're striving to ensure that the universal design or the accessibility features are fully integrated, and we've done that from the beginning of the project.
Other question? Yes, sir. Briefly, just present yourself, please.
My name is Barry McMahon. I'm from Ottawa, Canada, and I've been consulting on accessibility issues for a long time. I'm worried when people are presenting statistics on the number of people using facilities. Like, I think there was one statistic saying 3% of the people have mobility issues, and 5% have seating, I think it was.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, so the, yeah. Yeah.
You will explain it, the 305% you.
Yeah, so that was based on the studies that we undertook to look at what is happening currently around the globe that we could find on seating options.
Now,
Yeah.
my question really has to do with the fact that we all know that statistics are changing because of demographics.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're not really designing for historical data.
Exactly.
We're not designing for today.
Exactly.
We're designing for like 20 years from now.
Exactly. And we, yes, go ahead.
And I just want to finish off the question with, like you've designed a one-on-one ratio for somebody who needs a reserved spot for a mobility device, and they are limited by one guest, right? So, for instance, I couldn't take my children or grandchildren to the event because they would have to be seated somewhere else in the stadium. So basically, and I've seen a couple of good examples of where they've solved that problem. It usually has to do with one range of seating being at the concourse level.
That's what we do.
And then removable seats along the way at random type of thing. I don't see that happening in today's architectural designs.
Yes.
And I'm wondering whether you could address that, not only from a Canadian perspective, but from an international perspective.
So, as we pointed out earlier in the presentation, these reports we are hoping to continue to evolve and gain input from others. So the advice or the feedback that you're giving us is fantastic because it helps us to improve these design reports and create more inclusive approaches and really further develop these studies. And then in terms of seating and ensuring that there can be, I think it's flexibility. I think that there needs to be flexibility of the operations teams and how they're approaching seat selection and giving people options. I think that that's what it needs to come down to. Is there needs to be that area where flexibility of choice can be provided.
And maybe I'll just add to this from the Pan Am Para-Pan Am's perspective. When we started the consultation component, so before designs were really solidified, we met with the stakeholders, the people that are going to use this space after the games, and asked them what their prerogative was and where they wanted to go, and got their buy-in early on. And the majority of the community groups that are going to operate and own these facilities asked for more than 5% and 3%. They said, no, we don't want to meet minimum. We don't want to accommodate for current. We want to accommodate for future use. So I think that discussion has to happen with every group before building these facilities. And the majority of the facilities are between 7 and 5. So they've all kind of gone up and above what we presented today.
Okay, two questions, sir, and then.
I just wanted to know who is deciding that it will be okay for 5 or 7% in Toronto.
Well, who decides? So Jesse and I kind of take it upon ourselves to be cheerleaders for universal design, and we talk to anybody who will listen. And then predominantly for the new Pan Am, Para-Pan Am sports venues, there are a number of stakeholders. So there's the government, there are the community groups that are going to operate these afterwards, the International Paralympic Committee, Toronto 2015. I think at any given time we had about 30 people that were deciding. So it varies depending on where the facility is. But I think at the end of the day, our main goal is always to try to get to the community and get their input and their involvement and have them push and drive the design decisions, especially for percentages and that kind of thing. So it changes, depends on on who's using the facility and who's going to own it. But we're really trying to promote getting everybody's opinion and then making a decision based on that.
Sir? Present yourself.
Constantine Zerger from Chicago, and I had the opportunity to go to Hurricane games in Rio de Janeiro. I was born there, and also involved with the Athens 2004. My parents were born there, so I have, and we have a great sports town in Chicago. And one of the things that I've learned through the whole time is that you can have wonderful facilities. Ultimately, you also have the human element. Because we have the ADA law that says sometimes it can be interpreted as one individual with a disability and a companion, and at the same time, it's about the experience of family. Imagine a family of 4 with someone with a disability and have 3 individuals. You can't, who you decide. It happened to me in Florida. 20 of my friends went to a circus. We were at a conference such as this, and someone knew it. We arrived there, and the stadium was half full. And yet says, well, the accessible seating is there, but only one of you can go with that person. And my 20 friends were willing to give up the front row seats just to spend time with me. She said, bring me a manager. And I think what needs to be created, just in the aviation industry, we have a CRO, Complaint Resolution Officer. There should be, every stadium should have someone. In the United Center,
Yeah.
the United Center in Chicago, they have an accessible seating individual who knows everything about that. There needs to be a leader, because you get to that assistant there and says, I'm sorry, sir, you can't. At the stadium, there's a manager who understands the disability components forthright. But most importantly, it is the experience of the individual and their friends. It's not about the seating at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Good idea. Last question.
Oui, Yves Dérault,
Yves.
et membre du RACLIC, un regroupement activiste pour l'accessibilité universelle. Je trouve la question intéressante par rapport au pourcentage de places réservées pour la mobilité réduite. Et dans le sens qu'il y a comme un piège à savoir que s'il n'y a pas d'offre dans les temps réguliers, il n'y aura pas nécessairement de demande, parce que la demande va aller, si je prends un exemple, M. Lebrun, dans les autobus, l'accessibilité, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a un espace pour un fauteuil par autobus. Donc, il n'y aura pas vraiment foule qui va courir pour avoir accès à un autobus, parce que les places sont limitées. Les gens partent avec ce concept-là au préalable. Donc, si on base à 3%, alors que la population qui est figurée est à peu près de 15% en mobilité réduite, il y a comme un gap, il y a une différence entre les deux.
Okay, so, I will translate briefly. He was saying that those percentage, 3, 5, what they, in fact, they do is that they squeeze for that amount of space, and they don't allow more people to come and to create the demands, meaning that if there's only one seat, one person will show it. There's 3%, there's 2%. Let's say it's more toward 10 or 15%. If you offer that, people will come, in fact, knowing that the place will be there to allow them to be seated alone or with friends if they come with friends. You understand that? Yeah? Is there comments? Or? C'est parce que j'ai une responsabilité du temps. It's 12:30. It was really great and informative. I thank you all because I didn't hear the phone or ring or bing in the room. So really thank you for the way you listened to the conférenciers. Donc, before you left, so pour Madame Nayar, Madame Pothier, Monsieur Klimitz, a good round of applause for their presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.